have waited for this episode for a long time. This is wrestling. Versage Zach McGibbon covering the WWE Unreal series, and episode 4 is all about the heel turn. John Cena in Toronto at the Elimination Chamber on March the 1st, 2025. Great to talk to you again, Zach. Very much looking forward to this episode.
Yeah, this is the one that I was rubbing my hands and getting excited to talk about this episode where they break down the heel turn of John Cena and how it all kind of came together in the end. So I'm very much looking forward to this conversation.
Well, let's get going. And, man, there's just a lot that goes into the heel turn and, the ideas of it, Zach, and that's where we're going to start, about the idea of doing this in the first place. I'm eager to hear you talk about, the idea coming up and the discussion around it before it was executed, and what you thought of bringing it up in the first place.
Yeah, it was interesting how they were kind of mentioning it. They were looking back to when Cena first announced he was retiring the year before, and how it was all kind of setting up for this retirement tour that they were going to do, and all kind of culminating into the idea being popped up. I believe it was a conversation between Hunter and Bruce Pritchard and Ed Koski, I believe, was the third guy in there that was discussing the idea. I think it was Pritchard that actually brought up the idea of why not do the Cena heel turn. That stuff was interesting in terms of, like, all right, how did this idea sort of fester and how seriously they were taking it and trying to come up with everything. And one of the things they also kind of mentioned, and it was also kind of touched upon in episode 1, how it's tough to kind of keep things a secret because everybody is so entrenched and plugged into everything in pro wrestling. And so it was kind of a combination of, let's do this heel turn, but also how can we keep this under the rug, make sure that not only the people within the circle, within this group of people that is aware of the plan, how can we keep this from leaking out?
So you didn't have to get like 3 seconds into this episode before I'm already like off the couch, screaming at the television, like watching the Dallas Cowboys be down 21-0, and it's like 6 minutes into the football game.
Yes.
That's how I felt.
Yep.
When one of the athletes that's becoming more, and this is a personal opinion, unlikable every 5 seconds of every day. For me.
Yep.
And this person, before the intro played for the show, said these words: "The final boss is the greatest heel wrestling has ever seen. And the new version of The Rock is the most gratifying decision I've ever made." You want to get me up off the couch 3 seconds into a show? You did it. Congratulations, WWE. You evoked emotion from me. You did everything that an intro to a television program should do. Raging 5 seconds in. Zach, I don't want to say that this guy's trending towards Hulk Hogan, but I don't see a lot of sound decision making, and I don't see the ego being taken away to make sound decisions. I see one of the most egotistical people I've ever seen think that his decisions and his words and things that he's done previously in his life to be successful means that he's all knowing. And that is The Rock.
Oh, I thought you were going to say Paul Levesque, but
yeah, yes. I know. No, that's The Rock.
Gotcha.
I know what you think of Paul Levesque, but I'm telling you, it's a contest for the ego, and I'm actually going to put The Rock ahead of humble Hurst Helmsley when it comes to this. Was one of the most ridiculous things I've ever heard.
Right off the bat, too.
What did you think of him saying that?
I wasn't as fired up as you were about it. I saw it as a wrestler kind of putting himself over, and trying to make himself seem bigger than what he was. I can understand why you would be mad about it, because I also agree that I don't see the final boss as the greatest heel in the history of professional wrestling. I think that he's got some work to do there. But I do find the final boss a captivating character, sometimes for the wrong reasons, but he's certainly captivating when he's on the screen. I can understand why he said it, and I can understand why people would be mad at him for saying that. But it didn't get me as fired up on the edge of my seat like watching a Dallas Cowboys game on Sunday afternoon sort of reaction.
They only play Sunday nights because they're the America's team.
That's true.
They don't.
They do play a lot of prime time. Yeah. They very rarely play in the 1 o'clock time slot. They're usually, sometimes it's 4:25, an American's game of the week.
So yeah, what did you think of Nick Khan saying they needed to bring The Rock into that show in Elimination Chamber, which we knew before, because of what they called a tough Canadian economy?
Well, even The Rock mentioned that in the Pat McAfee interview a while back, so it is consistent.
Right.
So
I'm wondering what you think of not the consistency, but the reality of what they're talking about.
Yeah,
do you think that that's true?
I think so. I do think I said it at a time where I think that's true, and I still think so too. Oh yeah, absolutely. I know you're gonna say, "Oh, what about the 25,000 people in the building?" But it's a big dome, and they were hoping for more. You know, you're talking about the first time that they're in the Rogers Center in a decade or more, and I could totally believe with a company like TKO where they're trying to make as much money as possible, and they're trying to get
their problem. And I hate to get all fired up about it,
yeah.
But you have a nondescript pay-per-view. PLE. I apologize.
Yes. Paul Levesque event, as I heard recently. Yes.
Oh, I like that.
So many nicknames. So many nicknames for old Paul Levesque.
But you have an event that you are charging an insane amount of money to go to. It is not one of your top events. You decided to put it in some stadium and not put it in an arena. And then when you only had, what was the final total of the attendance that night?
I think it went into the 35,000. I'll search it up here right now.
And now we're supposed to believe that their numbers said that it was like somewhere in the low 20s, and it's The Rock that got 10,000 people to go? Give me a break.
I think he's more of a ticket mover than you're giving him credit for, but
but the prices were to sit in the 500 level were ridiculous.
Oh, I'm not denying that the price of the tickets.
This isn't a tough Canadian economy more than it's a tough world economy.
Yep.
This is you overestimating what your event was going to do. And I don't have to look, 2020 hindsight, I understand. You want to make me believe that you had 22,000 or 23,000 tickets sold and you needed to move more because you got greedy and you went into a big event thinking that you could get 40? That's your problem.
Yep.
And you put the prices way too high. And then you know what happened at your next PLE, your 2-night extravaganza next month? Yeah, that went down the tank as one of the worst in history because you also thought that.
Yep.
So this isn't just a one-off. Oh man, that it angered me.
I just want to clarify. I'm not disagreeing with anything that you're saying there. I totally agree in terms of the market and demand, but I'm looking at it from, do I think they believe that? 100%. I believe that they think that they could have gotten more.
Yes,
there's a reason why they ran Rogers Center. Yeah.
Yeah, because they believe it doesn't make it true.
Oh, I know. I I firmly believe that they thought that they could have done more, and they felt like they needed to do more, considering the path to WrestleMania that they're on, them trying to make the PLEs more valuable. And so why not try and add some buzz into the wrestle? Because let's not forget either, a lot of the buzz going into Mania was not that great either. And so I think they were also looking for some sort of spark to get something going so that people could get talking, could start talking about the path to WrestleMania. So I do believe them when they say we needed to try and spice up and get more tickets sold. I do believe that. Not because of the actual real world of, ticket sales or whatnot, and how much they cost, but more for we're trying to maximize the amount of people that are in that building while also charging these exorbitant amounts, and we have to create that demand.
Part of the show that I didn't love is I didn't love sort of the New Day being inserted into this to tell me what a heel is.
Yes.
Well,
don't you remember they had this? Remember at the time they were saying it's one of the greatest heel turns of all time when they were making fun of Big E. You have to mention that when you're talking about a heel turn of this magnitude. When you talk about the other greatest heel turn of all time,
and had no payoff.
Correct.
The one where they just made fun of a guy that broke his neck, and then never did anything after that to pay it off.
Correct. And hadn't had an undercard match at WrestleMania, which got no crowd reaction when they wrestled.
So after we got the explanation of what a great heel is from the New Day, I thought it was interesting with Brian Gerwitz as the Rock's guy.
Yep.
Moving into the discussions on what to do. I just thought that was an interesting aside.
Yep. It really kind of exposes a lot of the inner workings of that is more of the exposing of the inner workings of WWE creative in my mind. Is that Rock can just implement a guy. It's like, all right, this is my guy. I've known him for years. He's been on the creative team before, and he's going to advocate for me when it comes to this creative.
I really want to know what you think of the sequence where they discussed doing this, and then they made phone calls.
Yes. Oh, Paul Levesque just, just really exuding charisma, explaining how everything was being put together, and trying to get the phone calls. We gotta have it approved by Nick Khan, and Nick gave it the go ahead, and I also had to call Travis Scott. Why he had to call Travis Scott, I still am unsure. They did not explain why Travis Scott was so instrumental.
Who got the phone call before Cena?
Well, he was the phone call before Cena, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like, if we're doing the Cena heel turn, first person on my mind, Travis Scott. He needs to be in here. Get him on the phone.
So, not to belabor the point here, but this was probably the biggest point in the series so far where I'm like, you're actually showing me what it's like behind the scenes.
Yes.
Because you have The Rock with Brian Gerwitz and Travis Scott, and suddenly now you have Nick Khan and Triple H trying to come across like everybody's on the same team, but they're not on the same team. They're not on the same side. And Triple H having to call Travis Scott? Like, are you kidding me with that?
I mean, he's instrumentally, as we learn later on, how instrumental he is to the storyline.
I thought this was the most exposed they left themselves.
Yes.
Because it was very clear that The Rock walked in and decided what was going on and what they were doing and what they weren't doing, and did not have his finger on the pulse, no matter what you want to say about Triple H and his decision making. The Rock came in without knowing what that was and didn't care. Didn't care. Because it was him and Travis Scott and Brian Gerwitz, and we're going to do what we want to do when we want to do it. Period. Triple H saying that he phoned The Rock, and The Rock being silent and then saying it was genius. Come on.
Oh, well, that's so good. I feel the mana coming from this angle here, Paul.
I just don't like that phone call to Travis Scott, it seems so out of place for them to even say so.
Yes.
I was embarrassed for them. I was embarrassed for Triple H having to say that
Yeah.
because it's probably what he had to do to play nice in the sandbox. So that was super interesting. I thought one of the things that brought me back though to being, you know what, this is pretty cool. This is stuff I want to see. It was the 6 guys from the Elimination Chamber sitting around talking about what they were going to do.
Yes, this was also my favorite part.
When they were following Cody, and all of a sudden, what was Logan Paul and Seth Rollins and Drew McIntyre and Damian Priest and Punk and Cena, and they're all just sitting around talking about the match. I thought Punk had a lot to say.
Yep.
Probably too much.
What Punk has a lot to say at something? I'm stunned at that one.
I didn't say he has a lot to say. I said he had a lot to say.
That's true. Yes. Yeah, that also too. Yes.
in the group. But I thought that was a cool little segment of like, hey man, here's 6 top guys, and they are sitting around working this out. I thought that was cool.
Yep. And then him relaying that spot where he's kind of reaching over and trying to really sell it, you know, was pretty cool. When Punk was explaining that, all that stuff was fascinating to look into in terms of how that match was being put together.
Yeah, it really was. And then we're going right back into what they're going to do. Like, I thought it was well done with Cody Rhodes because that was the guy who was going to kind of lead you into all of what was happening, right? But just the walkthrough of that whole match from all of the guys and how they were going to get there, I thought was really good and good stuff for people to watch to go, hey, this is kind of how it's going.
Yep.
And I guess I have to believe them that they didn't really tell anybody, and they don't even tell the director. They just tell the director, like Triple H is basically doing a live play-by-play in the gorilla position to the director of what is going to happen because they want it all to be natural. I might have let the director in on it beforehand personally.
Yeah.
That felt too much for me because I don't need Travis Scott to know and the director to not know. That's how I felt watching that. Like,
fair enough.
Of all people that should know because you want this to come across as great as possible. I understand you want to have everybody surprised and have that like shock and awe moment. But if you can't trust the person who's directing your entire show to not say anything and to be the person to just not say anything, but we need cameras on here and we need this and I don't know. Like that doesn't make a lot of sense to me, but I walked away from that going, the poor director who's trying to take 18 million things, because if he misses that, that's like, it's over.
Yep.
But he's not getting any preparation to be able to hit it properly. I found that stuff to me is really interesting behind the scenes stuff. Because imagine you were the director and the pressure that would be on you to go, we're not going to tell you what's going to happen. And then it's one of the biggest heel turns in the history of wrestling, and you don't even know that it's going to happen, so you can't be as prepared for it as you'd like to be.
Yeah. A little stressful.
That's real stuff. That's real life.
Yeah. The way that it was laid out on the show, it was to the point where it's like it would be hard for me to think how they could have faked that. You know what I mean? To try and throw people off the scent. That felt like it was a pretty genuine, like, all right, we're calling it on the fly here a little bit in terms of Triple H, you know, throwing directions at the directors, like, okay, be prepared for this, get this camera ready, do this, and blah, blah, blah. But I actually thought, you know, kind of watching it back, it really helped to enhance the moment because it was natural. It was something where it felt like everybody was just kind of waiting for something to happen, including the camera crew. Something we're missing in pro wrestling a lot nowadays, where everything just kind of feels so overproduced and whatnot. So in this sense, I loved it because it didn't feel like they knew what was happening next. It was like, oh, they're just as much trying to figure it out as we are. And it really helped to enhance the moment. So I loved it in that sense. Now, as a director, if I was in that role, I'd be sweating bullets and I would just be like...
Well, I was just going to say, like, you liked it because it worked out.
Yeah.
If it didn't work out, we'd never see the footage of this, of Triple H calling it on the fly and it not working out.
Yep.
But you would understand that people could probably put 2 and 2 together to go, he didn't tell anyone. And that's why they missed it. Because people in those spots don't miss it if they know.
Yeah.
That's all.
Yeah.
But anyway, it's regardless of what the right decision is, I'm not saying you're wrong because it had everybody on that edge. As long as you get it, I guess. But that, to me, regardless of the decision, is the real interesting things behind the scenes. And all I left with that going, that poor director had to live with the fact that Travis Scott knew and he didn't.
What a sentence you just said.
Right. The director of a PLE of your biggest moment, one of your biggest moments ever in the history of pro wrestling, didn't know, but Travis Scott did. Cool.
Yes.
I also thought you would get a kick out of everybody high-fiving each other, telling them how great they were.
Oh, love that part. Oh,
yeah.
so...
But I'd be remiss if they didn't bury Michael Cole along the way.
Oh, even better.
He hit him with a pair of brass knuckles, and they had to correct him with, no, that's the Rolex that he gave him.
Yes. Oh, so good. Oh, I had such a blast.
See,
oh,
again,
so
it
good.
popped me off the couch going, Zach's gonna like this.
I loved it so much. I'm glad they kept that in the final cut too.
Incredible that they kept it in the final cut.
Yeah.
Why? So why would you keep this in the final cut? I'm honestly
to
interested.
Pop me. That's why.
Well, maybe, but why would you do that? Because Michael Cole, I don't think Michael Cole is one of the greatest of all time, but everyone around him says that he is all the time.
Yes.
And he's certainly been around for a long time.
Yes. Well, if you're somebody that's only listened to 2 wrestling announcers in the last 20 years on one promotion, it's pretty easy to say, I think he's the GOAT. You know, I think he's one of the greatest of all time.
Yeah, I personally don't, but
I don't either. Just to be clear.
But his standing in the company would have to be very high, wouldn't it not?
Yes. He was in charge of like a lot of the other commentators on other shows. He would be the main point guy.
Right, but I'm just saying the way that people feel about him in the rest of the company would be fairly high.
Yep.
Why would you bury him? Why would you make him look bad for no reason? You didn't have to put that in.
To pop me, Lee. That's it.
I'm just saying from a bigger picture perspective.
Yep.
If I felt that way about somebody in the company who made a mistake because they didn't know what was happening because we never told them.
Correct.
Now they've made a mistake on the air because they were not prepared because they got no info. And then you left it in and kind of buried the guy.
Yep.
I just don't know why you left it in.
Yep. Travis Scott knew. Michael Cole did not.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. Incredible. I also wanted to bring up a scene from earlier before they did the heel turn where it was Triple H talking to The Rock when they're at the entranceway. That also popped me, just the visual of Triple H being like, so here's what we're going to do, Rock.
And they do this little hand just, okay, pow. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like he hits him with this and then like, pow. And then.
That's brilliant. That's brilliant.
This is dumbing it down to like the worst. That you're right. I'm sorry I didn't go back to that scene because that scene felt like we need to do this for WWE Unreal. So fake a conversation.
Correct.
Because that's got to be, if that's actually how you laid out the biggest heel turn in the history of wrestling, you're both way dumber than I thought.
And then The Rock doing that weird throat cut motion is like, and then I'm going to do this.
Why?
Whatever this is. And I was like, that popped me so much. Oh, so great. These two egomaniacs talking to each other, trying to like get this thing over. Oh, that's so brilliant that you would do that. That's just so smart. Just putting each other over in the most insincere way. It was fantastic.
I loved this episode, but probably not for the reasons it felt very what the WWE was trying to tell me. And I know a little bit better, so I know everything was not real.
Yep.
But the stuff they left in from the director stuff, I thought was very interesting. I thought all the guys sitting around talking about how the Elimination Chamber was going to go was interesting. And I thought they did a good job at explaining from their point of view, and it's their company, how everything went behind the scenes. Like, there was stuff that I think you're fibbing about, and then there was stuff that I can't believe you did, but it's real, and it's can't believe you didn't tell the director. I can't believe you did tell Travis Scott. I
Yeah.
can't believe you had to phone him before you phoned John Cena. But
well,
I
he's
got a lot-
addicted to pro wrestling now, as we saw the scene, right? Where he's like, "Oh, I love this. I'm addicted to this now." That didn't age poorly at all.
And then what did Cody say after that?
Well, he got potatoed afterwards. Like he got legit punched in the face by Travis Scott during that, and I believe Scott did apologize to him.
Didn't he break his eardrum or something?
Yeah, something like that, like a busted eardrum.
Yeah. And I give Cody a lot of credit. He doesn't complain about that type of stuff.
No, he always conducts himself quite well. I've always been impressed with how he's been able to. I think that's one of the reasons why he continues to be a big star, is because of how he conducts himself.
So after this episode was over, it was supposed to be about, and it was about, the heel turn of John Cena, one of the biggest things they've ever done. I thought they did a decent job of letting us in behind to see at least how they wanted it presented, of how they do things to come up with something like this. I think The Rock saying that at the beginning of the program was asinine. I think that Travis Scott even being involved was asinine. But it also gave us an indication, like I said, of The Rock coming in with Travis Scott and Brian Gerwitz, and they're not on the same side, and they tried to pretend that they are with Triple H. So this episode not intended to give me some happiness, but it actually did, from what I saw and kind of read between the lines and saw through some of what they were trying to present to me. Is that fair?
I think that's totally fair. There were interesting elements to this. Like, I always loved the shots of them showing like the actual production of, how, like, cut to this, cut to that. It actually reminded me of when AEW shared that video of CM Punk's debut for the company many years ago, and they showed the director, making those cuts. I thought that was also such great footage to see, and just how intense it could be in that truck. So having something similar to that on this was I thought that was a great call by them to put that in there too. But yeah, there were elements of this episode that I love, but not for the reason that one would love it. It was thoroughly entertaining in aspects that probably shouldn't have been for me. So.
Well, when we get to our next episode, it's our last episode, and the focus, of course, on WrestleMania in Las Vegas. So episode 4, the heel turn of John Cena for Zach McGibbon. I'm Lee Versage. Thanks again for listening to another edition of This Is Wrestling.